Leo is adamant to get Lionel Messi back to Barcelona in the comments right there. 5 comments coming in from Leo asking about Messi going back to Barcelona. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, if Lionel Messi is going to come in, or Gundogan, or any of these players have to go out. Could we see any truth to the rumors of Frankie de Jong or Ansu Fati leaving the Camp Nou?
So for Frankie de Jong, I think in this moment, this is not a possibility, a concrete possibility, because Frankie de Jong mentioned many times that he wants to stay, but he's really happy at Barcelona. Last summer, we spent the whole summer with Manchester United stories, because it's the reality that Man United wanted Frankie de Jong, but Frankie was not considering a move out of Barca. He wants to stay there. So at the moment, it's the same, also mentioned by the player yesterday and many times, he wants to stay at Barcelona. For Ansu Fati, it's different. I think Ansu Fati could be on the move in the summer. They are going to explore options in England. From Bayern, we had some rumors, but at the moment, I'm told this is not something concrete. But from Premier League, his agent Jorge Mendes is considering some possibilities, some options. At the moment, it's still early, of course, but there could be some chance for Ansu Fati to leave Barcelona in case they will receive an important proposal. So I will keep an eye on Ansu Fati more than Frankie de Jong. But we know that financial fair play, you never know. You can always have surprises. And so let's keep the situation open, but more Ansu Fati than Frankie de Jong at this stage.
Fab, it's time to give the people what they want. We need to talk about the Lionel Messi situation. Now, what I will add, sort of from a personal point of view, is obviously we know when PSG go out to the Champions League, things in and around the club always change. The atmosphere, you can never really call it positive after, one of those premature exits. We've seen it many times before. And it certainly sounds like the echoes coming out of Parc des Princes right now are not necessarily as positive as they were a few months ago regarding Lionel Messi's future beyond this summer when his contract expires. Have you got any potential news to share with us on his future? Because it seems to me where I am right now that there's a couple of options potentially open for Messi. That Barcelona option, which people at the club, regardless of the financial possibilities of a move, will always try and keep open because of the legend that Messi is with Barca. The fact that, PSG is generally considered to be one of his final options to stay in Europe, along with that potential return to Barca. Then you've got the Inter Miami option, and then potentially a move similar to Cristiano Ronaldo, which, could be to a Saudi Arabia or a similar league, to that. Would you say that that's an accurate reflection of the situation around Messi at this time?
I would say yes. I would also add the point that from what I understand, Leo Messi wants to continue in Europe at the moment. So his priority would be to stay at Europe at least for one more season. So for sure, all the options you mentioned are correct. The Barcelona dream is there. It's very clear. All the players are mentioning that, but also internally Barcelona, they dream with Leo Messi's return. This is very normal. Also because he's still not signing that new deal with Paris Saint-Germain. What happened is that at the end of the World Cup, there was a verbal pact between Leo Messi and Paris Saint-Germain. So it was like, okay, let's continue together. We will meet in January, in February, and we will discuss the contract, the details, length of the contract, salary, and then we will enter into the final details. But let's continue together. Then what happened is that, as you mentioned, when you go out of the Champions League, especially round of 16, so it's a really disappointing season for Paris Saint-Germain, same in the domestic cup. So this is something that is not at PSG level. The whole project is changing because we are not sure at all that Christophe Galtier is going to be the coach next season at PSG. What happens with the players? I think in the summer, many players could leave PSG. So there will be a big refresh of the squad again and again. And so what happens is that at the moment, from what I understand, Leo Messi already has a proposal into his hands from Paris Saint-Germain, and at the moment is the only official bid. At the moment, Barcelona have not sent any bid, but of course, you have a lot of time, it's still March. So Barcelona are dreaming of Leo Messi, they're sending some messages, but at the same time, the only bid in the hands of Leo Messi right now is from PSG, why Leo is not accepting. From what I understand, he wants to understand more on the project. Who's going to be the coach, what they're going to do with many of the players, what kind of team there will be next season. So what Paris Saint-Germain are going to do in season 23-24 to keep Leo Messi. This is the point. Of course, it's also about the money, the salary length of the contract, but it's not that Messi wants the same salary as Mbappé. It's Messi wants to understand about PSG project. This is why the situation is now open. We have to wait and see what Leo will decide, but the coach situation, I think, is going to be crucial.
One club who is dreaming of Lionel Messi, MLS's own Inter Miami, Fab. MLS fans, Americans, whether you love it, hate it, can't stand it, Leo Messi and that relationship is something that's become a talking point since the World Cup. Where do things stand between Messi and Inter Miami? And when might we see Lionel Messi possibly venture to the United States?
I think it could take a bit more time, no? Maybe it could take 1 year, 2 years. It always depends on Messi, how he will perform, how he will feel. For sure, Inter Miami interest is there. They want Leo Messi. They feel that one day they will really have this chance to have Leo Messi in MLS, in Miami. But at the moment, from what I understand, the priority for the player is to continue in Europe. So let's see how the conversation with PSG will go. Let's see how Barca will move in the next months. Also, financial fair play, as we mentioned, but how they can do it, if they will try really to make a proposal for Leo Messi. And then this is why I think for Inter Miami, this is the biggest dream, but it's something that is complicated now. It's something that could happen in the future. They feel that, they know that, they will be there. They want Messi. Messi is 100% aware of the situation, but it could take time.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see that situation play out. Let's get to some of the questions before we let you go, Fabrizio. We're about 60 seconds left. Kishwan jumping in and saying, Fabrizio, do you believe that Mason Mount deserves a big contract? Great question right there. A lot of stories about Mason Mount. What's the latest?
I'm not sure about big contract salary and this kind of stuff, because always it's up to the player, it's up to the club about the salary. But I really hope they will find a solution, because I think Mason Mount is a Chelsea player, is a Chelsea face coming from the academy, and they need this kind of players to build a top project as they're doing. So I really hope they will find a way to keep Mason Mount, because he's a fantastic player. I really like him. And I think they need this kind of players coming from the academy, showing people what is the Chelsea feeling also into the dressing room. At the same time, the reality is different now. There is no agreement, big gap, new agent helping the dad of Mason Mount, Tony Mount, to take care of the negotiations. And there is a feeling that if solution will not be found before the summer, Mason Mount will be on the market, and Liverpool want him. Liverpool are really interested in signing Mason Mount. And so let's see what happens, but Chelsea have to be fast if they want to keep Mason Mount.
Fab, a lot of what you're saying about Chelsea and Mason Mount reminds me a lot of the early days of QSI with PSG. Do you think there's a possibility that something similar to what happened with PSG's academy, where so many of these great young talents go to other clubs and explode? Do you think that could potentially happen to some of Chelsea's best young players? I mean, you look at someone like Colwell, for example, doing really well with Brighton. Obviously, Chelsea want to keep him. Yet when you look at the talent in the squad, there's no obvious place for him in that starting 11, maybe not even on the bench.
Yes, I think this is a risk. No, when you invest a lot of money and you try to refresh and change the squad, as you mentioned, it could happen. It happened to PSG, and it could happen to some of Chelsea players. They are taking care of the academy, because they're spending a lot of money on young players, also an extending contract. So I'm sure that Chelsea will try to keep all their talents. For Colwill, from what I understand, they have a project for him, so they will speak to the player and to the agent at the end of the season to show the project and try to keep the player in the Chelsea world. But at the same time, it's always complicated to have so many players into the squad. So it will be a big summer for Chelsea to clean a bit of the squad, to send some players on loan, to sell some players, and then it will be more clear for many of them.
Golf clap, everybody, for Fabrizio Romano. Every single week you bring it. JJ, great question. Michael Lahoud as well. Awesome stuff. Thanks to everybody out there for jumping in the comments.